And so it begins. Yes, the beginning after the end has finally aired its first episode, and my gosh, the jokes are already flooding out there. The budget Mushoku Tensei, the copy of Mushoku Tensei, and yes, me as a big fan of Mushoku Tensei, yeah, it's hard to deny. There's a lot of inspiration here. There's a lot of inspiration here, and I'm sure the beginning after the end fans are not liking it. But either way, I really wanted to come at this show with a perspective of what does this do different. I have checked out the original source material a little bit, and I do know that at some point it deviates quite a bit, but we can't ignore the fact that we have the Reborn in front of Paul and Zenith's scene. We got him scratching his butt while he's reading a book alone in the other room. We have the, Zenith healing him. We have even the Zenith chapter is literally there as she's looking out the window at them exercising outside, blowing up the house. It's all there. You can't miss it. But again, I want to see what this does different, even though I do argue that sameness does kind of hinder it quite a bit. I am already seeing from this first episode, it feels different. It obviously feels different. We have a character from a different background, from a shut-in NEET that's a pervert, to somebody that it's a cold-blooded king. We're already seeing the differences here. Now, I will admit, from looking at the source material to looking at this adaptation, it does look like they're kind of changing it quite a bit. It does seem like it's less comical. It feels like a lot of the comedic scenes are kind of being suppressed. For example, him in front of the mirror, in the original source material, he starts joking about the fact that he's going to be a lady killer. Like, girls are going to be after this guy. Like, look out, ladies, I'm looking pretty good. So it does look like they're kind of suppressing a bit of his goofy nature, and that might actually change the feel of this show, and I'm kind of interested in it, even though I can see that it's going to be something that's going to probably bother a lot of source material readers. But anyways, that all said, let's actually get into my impressions of episode 1. The series opens up with a guy that was a king in his previous life, and it does look like the world that he was actually in was decently advanced. It looked like there was technology that at least had flying planes and dropping bombs and whatnot. But yes, he was a king, striking down everybody. Looks like he was actually even heading massacres. Like, they're literally bombing entire cities of people. Well, at some point when he's in his chambers, he ends up going to sleep and waking up in the body of Arthur, who's this child of this other world. It does seem like he immediately recognizes the language of this new world, so it might actually be the similar world, but there is a lot of differences in this new world. Very quickly, he realizes that, yes, people are able to use magic here. Technology hasn't advanced as far. There's a lot of materials and whatnot in the town that he's never seen before. So it does seem like it is possibly a different world. But yeah, the big hanging point that he has in his new life is that he's now a child and he has two parents that are doting all over him and he has to rely on them. I think that's the big crucial thing that this story is already kind of exploring, is the idea of somebody that was a cold-blooded king. It does imply at some point that he was an orphan. He had no parents, nobody to take care of him. He had no experience having a father and a mother. So having a mother and father in this new life who are constantly taking care of everything that he needs taken care of it's a different feeling. He's definitely feeling like, oh my gosh, this is a kind of a nice feeling. It's just warm. And yes, also being extremely frustrated by the vulnerability that he has. He's very weak. He has to be taken care of. And yes, losing his bodily fluids and them having to take care of that. He also regularly gets into the idea of seemingly some sort of motto that he has, and the idea that knowledge is power. Everything is about power. Examining the world and gaining knowledge will be something he can use in the future. He also quickly realizes that people of this world seem to be able to carry weapons, where I guess it implies his previous world, they didn't let people just walk around with weapons. So that's a big key difference here. So this is kind of leading him to the idea that I need to gain power, I need to gain strength, and thus I'll be able to defend myself because it seems like everybody can have weapons in this world. So yes, he sneaks off, similar to somebody else, into a room, grabs a book, and starts reading about the world. He does find out the country that he's actually within is led by a monarch. It seems like it's actually inherited rather than taken over by power, which again implies his previous world was that way. And additionally, he learns about magic. And yes, magic seems to be different in this world than it was in his previous world. His previous world was ki. They used ki, which is where you pretty much gathered all the central core. In this world, it uses mana that's gathered into a core. And so he quickly tries to figure out how to actually use that. It goes into 3 different elements, which one is not covered by the actual anime and is only in the source material. Yes, the augmenters, which is people that use mana and bring it to the center and enhance their body to increase their strength and whatnot. You have conjurers who emit the mana from that core and thus can manipulate things outside of them. And then you have what the mother is, which is seemingly different. In the anime, it strictly just recalls a shot of her where she's healing his father. Whereas in the original source material, it goes into the fact that the mother is what they call a deviant, an emitter. A rare type of mage that is able to cast restorative mana. So rather than just pulling in or emitting, they're able to create some sort of restoring. In the anime, it's just basically saying, there's some oddities, I guess. Okay. But yes, 2 years kind of pass, and during this time, again, he's really kind of looking into the world itself, how different things work, learning things. We get a little perspective of the mother, who the mother's kind of seeing how he's, doesn't really smile ever, but he's constantly trying to learn things, which she finds is cool. She figures that he's going to be a lot like his father. The father apparently at some point went out adventuring. That's probably where she met him. Sounds similar again. But yes, at some point, he's going to be taken to go have his nap, and he decides to use his secret new ability that he's decided to rely on, which is a cute face, to get the chance to read a book instead of going to take a nap. The mother allows it, goes outside to take care of something, and he decides to try to use his magic, which ends up exploding, and everybody rushes in there to find him in there. Even though he's not even 3 yet, he's able to actually use magic, which, yes, at some point it implied that, it's typically people in their teens that's going to be able to start doing conjuring. So this is a big shock to everybody. But the cool thing at the end here is the fact that, yes, stuff is going to start piling on top of him. He feels he's going to die again. He assumes this is death, but then his parents save him, protect him from death. And this is something that he's like, oh yeah, I think that's something that parents are supposed to do. Again, something that he never had experience with in his previous life because he didn't really have parents to dote on him or whatever. But this is something they were supposed to do. They succeeded, but they're still crying, and it doesn't make any sense to him. Again, somebody that just doesn't seem to have a grasp of parents and love and that kind of stuff because of his previous life. So he's trying to understand it. And that's pretty much where they wrap up the episode. And yeah, technically after cast thing, showing some weird dragon thing that they've shown in pretty much all the trailers and stuff that apparently at some point is probably going to attack him. So we'll see. Something that's probably going to give him OP abilities or become his arch nemesis. I don't know. But yeah. That's pretty much the episode overall. Like I said before, I get the similarities here. It's hard to miss it. And like I said, those similarities do sort of make it feel samey and thus doesn't feel fresh. I think that's my only concern. I don't care that this is similar to Mushoku Tensei. It's funny, but at the same time, I don't care. It's not going to make it to where I don't watch the show. What I really want is what it does after that. It's like every single other isekai. A lot of isekais that we watch these days is inspired by Mushoku Tensei. A lot of people will see that it is the godfather of the modern isekai because a lot of ideas from Mushoku Tensei is sort of borrowed into other shows. And this was obviously doing the same. What I was really kind of looking for is to see what it does differently. And I know that at some point when they leave the town, it does deviate a lot. And that's where a lot of people are probably going to be like, okay, cool, it's something different. And I think from a lot of source material readers, that's their perspective. Give it until this chapter and it does something different. That's fine. What I've already found so far in this first episode is really Arthur. That is the key thing that feels different. Paul doesn't feel different. Zenith doesn't feel different. Arthur feels different. Again, instead of having this neat pervert that is constantly ogling people and going around and perving out and finding underwear, all that stuff isn't there. The idea of being struggling with his past life and the idea of how he was a useless person and rejected his parents is not there. Here we have a guy who seemingly was very cold-blooded. Now, I haven't got a sense that he was a murderer, but it does give a sense that he was a strong-armed leader, somebody that was destroying things before him that was in his way, essentially. So I'm not really sure exactly if he made the calls to kill innocents. Is he the one that had everybody be bombed? That's the massive question mark there. It does seem like whatever has transported him into this new life has given him the duty of finding the light, going a different route. It doesn't seem like in this new life he's going, when am I going to kill this dad because he's in my way? When am I going to take out this mother because she's in my way? It does seem like that is definitely changing his mind in this new life because he's now seeing the idea of having a family. He's learning what it means to have a family because he never had one before. He was an orphan. He only was able to see when other people were kind of taken away from the orphanage, but it seemingly wasn't him. He wasn't chosen. And instead, at some point, chose to lead armies and take over nations and duel others and take down other competing countries. It does seem like the previous world was very heavily reliant on duels. It points out in the source material that he used to travel around and take out competing countries' leaders in duels. So it does seem like that was an honor system of some sort. Again, this new life having a monarch system where it's inherited through the bloodline, which I'm assuming those two children they showed in that brief shot of the monarch are probably going to be two waifus later on, no doubt. Distinctive hair colors, two children, his age, they're going to be waifus later. But yeah, having this different perspective of a character who's just cold-blooded, is always thinking about how to get an advantage, how to get strong, is definitely a different feel. Again, this is where I'm feeling that difference, and it could turn something decent. Truth be told, is it interesting so far? Am I engaged like insanely? much more than I thought I would be, but again, it is not doing anything really special here. To answer probably an obvious question that some people will have, what do I feel about this versus Mushoku Tensei? Obviously, Mushoku Tensei was more interesting because it was a character that was extremely flawed. It is that whole idea of the argument between these two shows where somebody's saying, I don't like Mushoku Tensei because it had a pervert character. I like that show because he was so disgusting, and that it was more impactful that he was changing. So in the end, it does have a similar feel here that I do want to like this because similar to Mushoku Tensei, you do have a very flawed character in the idea that it seems like this guy was a mass murderer. And again, Mushoku Tensei, he was a nasty pervert. It's two people that are extremely flawed and dark coming to a new life and learning what's more important. Now, it does seem like this character is advancing much faster than with Rudeus's character. This guy is very quickly going, I want to understand good things and I want to accept this family, whereas Rudeus didn't really accept that. And we went 2 seasons before he finally realized I should have. This one's already seemingly accepting it within episode 1. And so that does give me a concern this might not have much depth to it because it seems like this character is advancing too fast. Going back to the visuals, yeah, this show, I feel bad for the passionate fandom of TBATE because it's not looking good already. We're only in episode 1 and the show doesn't look that great. And again, there was signs of this with the 1-minute preview that IGN apparently got, which had missing in-betweens. And not that it looks horrible. This show kind of gives me like a vibe of like a 5 out of 10, maybe a 6, but probably a 5 out of 10 visually because it doesn't seem like there's much movement in this show. A lot of this show is just action stills. A lot of the action scenes is just action stills. The OP and the ED aren't really that impressive, and typically with OPs and EDs, they do give a spectacle there for you to look at to kind of draw people in. So if that's like the highest bounds they have for visuals, I don't really have a feeling the show is going to look great. It's probably, again, going to be very middle of the road. It's not a horrible show, unlike a lot of isekais that get kind of turned out each season, but it's not looking great. The music did at least stand out to me, and that was something I was kind of expecting because we do have the musician that did the Danmachi series, so the music at least feels very much so in the actual setting. Very beautiful music here and there. But yeah, in the end, it's decent. It's decent so far. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. I'm going to be checking out the further episodes. If I don't get too much hate for being on the fence somewhat, I might actually cover this show on a weekly basis. We'll see. It'll just depend on how the show itself does. If it catches my attention even more so with the coming episodes, I might cover it weekly. Let me know in the comments down below if it's something that you would look forward to. But anyways, that's my thoughts so far on the beginning of the end of their first episode. I hope you guys enjoy this video. As always, if you did, hit the like button down below. Make sure to hit the like button because I'm sure people on either side, since it's such a heated topic about the beginning of the end and Mushoku Tensei, I'm probably going to get hate from either side from being so close to the middle. There's so many people that just hate people being in the middle there. Hit the like button. Make sure to subscribe before you leave. I'll be doing first impressions of all the shows this season. If you like this content and want to support channel more, I have links in the description below. Greatly appreciate it. Until next time, y'all take care.